In El Salvador, my wife grew up in a nice house with professionals. The mother owned a business. The father was a dentist, very educated, very well. Comes to America, and now she's living the life of an immigrant, a life of a non-educated immigrant. That would be me. And as much as she loved me, it wasn't the best. I was always working. I was never there. There was no relationship. And definitely at the beginning, there was no love. When Louis was born, obviously, I love my son. And I love him with all my heart. And I tried to do the best that I could. And that's what I was working a lot. But this is what I tell people. Look, when you take the wrong detour, when you come to America, you need to, A, learn the language, B, get an education if you're an immigrant. But most immigrants, they don't want to learn the language. I did. And they don't want to get an education. I wanted to, but I couldn't because now I have my son. I wish I could tell you that things got better, but things did not get better. So by the time I was 18, we got engaged at 16. I got married right before 17. Marriage lasted less than 2 years. By the time I was 18 and some, she went back to El Salvador and took my son with her. Louis was born in the United States. He was an American, but she chose to go back. When she went back, it just broke my heart. And I was sad and hurt. Now, you would think I would change. I didn't. Started drinking, doing drugs, and I was heartbroken. So my life changed for the worse. Then at 22, oops, I did it again. I met another girl and she got pregnant. This is baby number 2. And comes my daughter, Gabriela, which was my princess. I used to call her Bella. And I used to tell her that her dad was the beast. And I'm not kidding. I was the beast. In every way, shape, or form, I was bad. Always drinking, always working. My daughter reminded me when she was little, one of the worst things that I probably did to her was she would wait at the window for me. And I was always late, way late. It was either because of work, because I was doing something. And even though I love Gabby, I called her, I just wasn't the best dad that I could. Matter of fact, I wasn't that good for Louis either. Other than I work hard, I send checks, I gave them money. And whenever they were with me, I tried to show them my love by taking them to Chuck E. Cheese, taking them to the movies, Toys R Us, any toy they wanted, anything they needed, any clothes they wanted, any type of shoe they wanted. I simply paid so that my kids could love me. Sadly, every time I picked up my daughter, she would cry for her mom. And I never understood why till later. You would think I learned my lesson, but I didn't. I got involved in a relationship with someone who was not my wife. I was not really walking as a Christian. Remember my hat, sinner. And I ended up committing adultery and having a relationship with somebody at work. My wife found out about it, my second wife, and she wasn't happy about it. And to tell you the truth, I probably cheated on my first wife too, now that I think about it. And that's why the reason why she left, because she found out, not necessarily that I was engaging on things, but I was always talking to girls. Back in the days, I know I don't look like it now, but I used to be a Mac Daddy, play a pimp. I actually used to play the part really good. So my wife finds out, we have problems. Something clicked with me though, and I wanted to change. And I asked her to forgive me. And she forgave me. And we were going to work on things. Turns out that she decided to also commit adultery while all this is happening. By the time I found out, oh, that's it. I'm leaving her. Meanwhile, even though there was no love, even though we're getting divorced, we were still having sex. And what happened? She gets pregnant again. That's 4 times. 2 babies dead, 2 babies alive. And life gets worse. That is $400 a month for the first baby, $400 a month for the second baby. I wasn't working super good yet, and I wasn't making a lot of money, but it was $800 a month coming out of my checks that I had to pay for my kids. On top of that, I had to pick them up, I had to take them, buy them, give them, and I always want to give them the best. So it was just a lot of money that I was spending, and all because of the consequences of not understanding what marriage was, a relationship was, definitely not knowing what love is. I thought I could buy my way out, and I started partying, drinking, doing more things. By the time I was 29, oops, I did it again. Another girl got pregnant. She told me that she loved me. I said, I want to marry you. By the way, now you can get the drift of things here. So every time somebody gets pregnant, I said, I'll marry you. And then we get married, and then things don't work out. But hey, I was doing the responsible thing, which is if you get pregnant, I marry you, and then things will be good. Now, that didn't work out in the first two marriages. So the third marriage comes in. The owner of the club that I used to work, probably a man that I owe so much in my life, Dr. Torme, he was just the man in every way, shape, or form. I didn't have a card. He helped me get my first card. I never had a credit card. He helped me get my first credit card. And on top of that, he gave me an amazing job that I was making a lot of money. I mean, more than I ever thought I could. I was a hard worker. I told you, I learned that from my mom and my dad. That never went away. I didn't have an education, but now I'm 29. I'm going to be a dad again, and I'm making close to $100,000 a year. That's not bad. And I'm doing the same thing. Nothing has changed. She was Catholic. Her family was Catholic, very involved in the Catholic Church. And they wanted me to become Catholic. And I said, well, I used to be Catholic, but I became a Christian. Remember, married twice, divorced twice, 2 babies alive, 2 babies dead. But yet I thought in my heart that I was a Christian because I had gone to a Baptist church and they told me in El Salvador, you're a Christian. I never lived the life of a Christian. I maybe once in a blue moon, maybe I read the Bible. I do remember in my first marriage and my second marriage, trying to go to a church and trying to find that Christianity that supposedly I had in me. And it only worked for a couple of times. You go in, you have a feeling, it felt good. I was praying and I thought, yeah, this is for me. And then I go back and do the same thing. By the time I was 29, life took a big turn. I was at home by myself. She called me and told me that she was not going to marry me. I told her, why not? And she said, because my parents said that I cannot marry you. And I said to her, well, who cares about your parents? It's about me, Luis, first, the baby, and you, not your parents. So she said, no, it's about my family first, and I cannot marry you. After I hung up with her, I got drunk, I was angry, and eventually I put a Glock 9mm in my head, and I was going to kill myself. A lot of people have never heard my story because I'm not one who likes to tell stories. I'm actually very honored and very blessed that my story is actually being heard after so many years. Like I said, they actually put it in this book called Quest. My life is also in the naked truth about sex, love, and relationships. My life is not there because of love. My life is not there because of relationships. My life is there because of sex. Both books, I made it into the sex chapter. The sex chapter is the one where you don't do the right thing. At 29, I'm contemplating on killing myself, and I just want to give up in life. Suddenly, I realize 2 babies dead, 2 babies alive, 1 on the way. I'm not married. I'm divorced twice. And then it clicked. Back in the day, I used to say with my brother, the one that I kind of look up to, my older brother. His name is Jaime, by the way. I'm Luis. I always wanted to be like him. He came to America first. I follow him. My brother was a hard worker. I follow that. My brother used to do drugs. I follow that. And drink a lot. I follow that. And my brother had, by now, 3 kids with 3 different women. My dad, who I love too, had more than 3 kids with 3 different women. So when everything clicked for me, here I am having kids left and right. And now I'm going to have 3 babies with 3 different women. Of which ones I'm not married. So at the moment, lowest moment of my life, I realized I had become what I said I will never be. And I just wanted to end it by killing myself. In between all of this, there were a lot of fights. There was a lot of anger that I experienced, but I'm sparing that part of my story to tell you the most important part. That night, I wanted to kill myself. And I put the Glock in my head. But out of nowhere, a Bible was in the corner. I used to work at this place, amazing place called Racquetball World. But at the time that all of this was going on, there was a moment in time before where I kind of quit Racquetball World and I went to work for Home Depot. I met at the time, the president of the West Coast of Home Depot. He was a member at the Health Club, where I told you that Dr. Tormey was amazing in my life. And I met this guy who was the president of Home Depot, and they offered me a job on the spot. 20% more money than what I was making, ended up being a lot more than 20. And I took it. And when I was at Home Depot, I worked hours after hours after hours, and I definitely didn't see my daughter. By the time my mom came and visited me, and I'm going back in my story, I'm working at Home Depot. And I guess according to my mom, she used to pray for me when she come and visit me. And I was always shaking in the middle of the night. And one of the times I woke up and my mom was right on top of me with her hand on me. And I almost punched her. And I said, "What are you doing? I almost punched you." And she said, "I was praying for you." She told me that I had no peace and that I had no rest. I told her, "Look, I have to work. I have to make money. I have to pay child support. I have to take care of my kids and my life." So she had a Bible that she used to read, and she left it on top of the table and told me, "When I leave, make sure you read it." Fast forward the night that I'm going to kill myself, I looked at the table, and guess what was on the table? The Bible my mom gave me. Now, when I looked at the Bible, I started being angry at Jesus. And I started complaining on how my life was hard and why. And you know how it is. It's always why that way when you're complaining. But then I realized it wasn't his fault. It was really me. I'm the one who messed up my whole life. And by the way, when I first became a motivational speaker, now this is way forward, I used to blame my mom, my dad, my brother, and everybody else who can come in my idea. And I used to tell my story as a motivational speaker, telling everybody how hard my life was. And in reality, the more I read books like this, Quest, Navigator, Game Plan, and Aspire, and Excel, 5 books, which, by the way, I'm a teacher of those. I teach all 5, and I was in the classrooms. I became a motivational speaker. I was speaking to over 150,000 people a year, which way forward. Bringing it back, that night, I saw the Bible, kind of looked like this, Black Bible. And I asked Jesus to forgive me. I told him that I didn't want to live anymore, so I wanted to end my life. But if he could help me, I will change. And I will follow him wherever he wanted me to. I will do whatever he wanted to, and I will say whatever he told me to say. Like I said, I didn't read it a lot. So I said, "Lord, I don't even know where to start." So I opened it, and it was Galatians 5. And, Galatians 5 has a lot of verses, but all I could see was things that happen when you do bad, when you're walking in the flesh. And when you read that, it just has to scare you, because if you are like me, even though I was a sinner, even though I knew I was doing bad things, I wasn't religious and I wasn't spiritual. But one thing I knew, I did not want it to go to hell. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm not putting anybody down. But when I was Catholic and I went to Catholic school, St. John Bosco, when I was young, and I went to Catholic church, dude, there was not one time that I went to church or school where they wouldn't tell us that I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to go to hell. Dude, everything was hell, 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 hell. And I don't know about you guys. I personally did not want it to go to hell.